Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's a Friday. I'm sitting in my room right now. It's sunny, it's out. And I'm listening to an album that would go well with this kind of weather. But then again, anything this group comes out would go good with the summertime. And you could tell by the background what song I'm playing. Yep. The White Album by the Beatles. Came out on November of 1968. It was their first official album on their new record label called Apple Records, which they started through capital EMI. It would also precede the Hey Jude single, which was the first official single release on that label. And what can we say? It's regarded to this very day as one of the greatest diverse rock and roll albums in all of music history. I mean, we have heavy songs like Year Blues, which I consider a grungiest, heaviest, monstrous track that John Lennon ever came up with. Helter Skelter, which we know Charles Manson would steal for his homicidal crusade a year later. Back in USSR, which was a parody of Chuck Berry's Back in USA. Songs like Dear Prudence, which Susie and the Banshees would later cover, years later on down the line. Glass Onion, which had references to Strawberry Fields, as well as I Am the Walrus in the lyrics. The cartoony story of Bungalow Bill, which I guess is a little story of a hunter out to bag of some tigers or lions or whichever. My Guitar Gently Weeps, which features their only guest artists on any of their albums, being Eric Clapton doing lead guitar on that song. Songs like Sexy Sadie, which was directed towards the Maharishi Yogi, which I guess was probably one of the first diss tracks that to ever exist. Apparently they were disgruntled over the actions of the Maharishi while they were in India for most of that year. So they had a slower version of Revolution, which entitled Revolution Number 1. And of course we cannot forget Revolution Number 9, which was something they have never done before. Well, basically it was John's idea, from what I remember reading about. Apparently when he got involved with Yoko Ono, an avant-garde artist at that time, she basically helped them influence gave him the idea to come up with this track, which basically was a feature of tape loops, sound effects, a couple of British gentlemen talking throughout the whole recording, some outtakes from some of their recording sessions all together. And we cannot forget the beginning of the track, which was taken from basically was taken from a thing called EMI Test Tape Number 9. They clipped out just number 9. They would have it looped over and over and over as the beginning. And of course we cannot forget the theory that when you play it backwards it says "Turn Me On Dead Man." And of course we all know that would later gave birth to the infamous rumor or hoax that Paul McCartney had died a couple years earlier in a car wreck. And there were a lot of references to that throughout the track, played backwards or forwards. It all depends on what you hear. And also, here's another thing interesting that worthy of note. Ringo Starr left the Beatles for about a week because he was headed up to here with the tensions between the members. Apparently, there was a lot of tension building up. Some of the Beatles were not getting along at that time, and Ringo just simply had enough. Apparently, Paul tried to play the drums on basically his tracks. Apparently, they decided to send him a telegram asking him to come back to the group. Things will be different here on, which Ringo agreed to. In fact, he stated that when he showed up in the studio, there were flowers around his drum kit. Welcome back, Ringo, they were saying. sadly, those tensions would later come back and would eventually help destroy the group in April 1970. Well, you can't help but say, that this is probably one of the most greatest efforts they have ever did. In fact, it still remains one of the most selling of all their catalogs because of all the diversity tracks that's included on it. Oh, we cannot forget the song Honey Pie, which has a 1920s feel to it. Cry Baby Cry, with the little story that John sang about the king reading a plate, reading something to the children while the king was cooking breakfast. Usually they have a servant to do that, don't they? If I'm correct? I don't know. Well, that's all I can really say about this album. It is one of the greatest albums they have ever did, and everybody here, including myself, would definitely most agree, including my brother-in-law, who's a humongous Beatles fan as well. If you haven't listened to it yet, the hell you waiting on? Pick it up. You have it on vinyl, stereo, mono, CDs. Pick it up. Pick up the deluxe versions of this album. Get it while you can, folks. I'm Dr. Earl. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Leave the comments below and hit that like button. Turn me on, dead man.